Thank you, Joan. And now I think we need to move on to the Rabbi Michael, our anchor person now. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. And I think we need to approach this issue with a great deal of humility, knowing that none of us, and in fact, as Dr. Chopra mentions, most of humanity has not been able to achieve peace. So none of us can come and say, here, my strategy is the one that works, and the others, not so much. I think we have to have a humility as we approach this, and an acknowledgement, and here I want to encompass all that's said, to say that it's a mistake to counterpose inner and outer, that in fact we both need to transform ourselves and we need to transform the world. And that's why I helped create an organization called the Network of Spiritual Progressives. Because in my own work in the progressive movement, I found just what you said, and what many others have said, that there isn't enough inner peace in the people who want to make peace. But on the other hand, in the spiritual movement, I found there isn't enough commitment to building a progressive world. And so that's why we created this organization, Spiritual Progressives. The Network of Spiritual Progressives, and people can find that online if you want to know more about it at spiritualprogressives.org. Our goal is to try to create a political movement that simultaneously embodies a spiritual practice, but not one spiritual practice, but all the spiritual practices of all the religions and all the spiritual directions of the world. We're not a Jewish group, and we're not a Christian group, and we're not a Buddhist group, but we have leaders of all of those together, trying to gather to affirm all the spiritual paths, but to insist that a politics must embody the spiritual consciousness as well. Now, what does that mean? So our central vision is that we need a new bottom line in America. That right now we have a bottom line that flows from the ethos of selfishness and materialism that is the global common sense of globalized capitalism, that says look out for number one and win through power over others. And we're saying we need a new bottom line, and the new bottom line is this, that every institution, every government, every social policy, every education system or healthcare system, and even our own personal behavior should be judged efficient or rational or productive, not only to the extent that they maximize money and power, which is the old bottom line, but also, and importantly, the extent to which it maximizes our capacity to be loving and caring, kind and generous, ethically and ecologically sensitive, and to respond to the universe with awe, wonder, and radical amazement at the grandeur of creation.
Very good.
So, now, imagine a political movement or a political party that said, this is what we want for America, not just because so many of the progressives or liberals, et cetera, know what's wrong, but we need to project a vision of the good, of what we want, not just of what we are against. Yeah. So in order to do that, we've articulated two such programs. One of them is what we call the Global Marshall Plan. And it was just reintroduced into Congress this session since I'm a rabbi, we had the first elected Muslim in Congress, Keith Ellison, who is working with us in the part of the Network of Spiritual Progressives, to introduce House Resolution 157, which supports the Global Marshall Plan. The Global Marshall Plan stems from the following notion, that homeland security, whether it's in the United States or any place else in the world, and I try to preach this to my brothers and sisters in Israel who are so fearful of the Palestinians, and I want to overcome that. Homeland security should not and cannot be won through domination over others. It can only be won through generosity and caring for others. Now, And so imagine a political movement that says that's the central part of our foreign policy, but to make it real, we want to dedicate 1 to 2% of the gross domestic product of every advanced industrial country each year for the next 20 years to once and for all end global poverty, homelessness, hunger, inadequate education, inadequate health care. Now, the second concrete thing that we're putting forward is what we call the Environmental and Social Responsibility Amendment to the Constitution. And that ESRA, which again was introduced into Congress by Congressman Dennis Kucinich as House Resolution 156. I mention these numbers because I'm hoping that some of you will get involved with us in getting the city of Newark to endorse both the Global Marshall Plan and the ESRA and give those Congress people support. This ESRA says, number one, it overturns the Citizens United, and it says the corporations are not persons. But number two, it also says that we need in order to establish global social responsibility of corporations, we need, number one, to eliminate all private money from elections so that they could only be publicly funded and no personal money. Number two, that every corporation in America with an income of over $100 million, so we're not talking about mom and pop operations here, the big corporations must get a new corporate charter once every 5 years, and to get that, they must prove a satisfactory history of environmental and social responsibility to a jury of ordinary citizens. Okay, so this is a path that we say you take in order to take the larger vision and make it real in the world. And now, but isn't it unrealistic? And so I want to just say about realism. We who are in the Jewish world, God is, in our vision, Yud-He Vav-He, the force of healing and transformation, the force that makes possible the transformation from that which is to that which ought to be. That's who God is. And then, if that's who God is, what is idolatry? Idolatry is being realistic. What do I mean by that? Idolatry is being realistic because what does it mean to be realistic in common discourse in America? It means to accept that which is as the only possibility and to work within the existing framework as though that set the parameters of what was possible. And so, and who makes that decision? The media, the political leadership of our country, et cetera, tell us what's real. So what we say is, if you want to be a spiritually alive person, you must not be realistic. You must instead do not accept what others tell you is possible. Because the force of healing and transformation, the God of the universe, the spiritual reality of the universe, is the force that makes it possible for each of us, created in God's image, to be embodiments of that force and to transform the world. That's what we mean by Tikkun. That's the name of the magazine that I created, Tikkun Magazine, and now you can find that online, also tikkun.org. I'll stop in just, that was a 1-minute thing. So, tikkun.org. Tikkun means to heal, repair, and transform the world. That's our collective task today. And that healing is inner, it's outer, but we need to do it together to affirm the possibility of possibility. And that's the tikkun that I want to invite all of us, all of you, to join with us and to make this real.
Thank you, Rabbi. Very good. Okay. So time has arrived. Any last word, Your Holiness? Time.
I usually was expressing our ultimate sort of vision, the world. I think that's maybe related with the creation of the positive environment. So here, the 20th century becomes century of bloodshed. Now 21st century should be century of dialogue. That means disagreement always there, difference of interest always there. Now, when we face these sort of problems, we must have realistic, effective method. That is talk face to face and keep their interest right. And respect is their sort of interest or their right, and then try to sort of mutually equitable solution. That's the only way to build sort of peaceful world. Then, whenever we sort of face the problem through talk, we'll try to solve. Therefore, then, as you mentioned, military sort of forces now no relevant. So ultimately, we can create world something like disarmed world, demilitarized world. Of course, step by step, in order to carry external disarmament, firstly, or talking the internal disarmament. So I think side by side, through education, internal disarmament, then with a big vision, external disarmament, then I think your argument then fully sort of effective. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Holiness.
I really appreciate your practical work.
Thank you.
Practical sort of implementation step by step. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.